Take it back. Ade's voice rang out as he stood in the churning lagoon, holding the glowing idol high. The shadows around him seemed to pulse, their whispers rising with the crashing waves. With a final cry, he hurled the idol into the depths. The water erupted in a blinding flash, a wave pulling him under. When he emerged, trembling and breathless, the lagoon was still. Weeks earlier, Ade had been a struggling fisherman, his life ordinary and uneventful until the storm that brought the idol to his shore. Little did he know, that moment would change everything. In a quiet fishing village by the shimmering waters of Lagos, life moved slowly, ruled by the rhythms of the tide. The villagers depended on the lagoon for their survival, casting their nets each day in hope of a good catch. Among them was Ade, a man known more for his misfortune than his skill. Ade was an ordinary fisherman in a small village by the lagoon. Each day, he went out to fish, hoping for a good catch, but luck was rarely on his side. His net often came back empty, and his family lived in poverty. One fateful morning, after a fierce storm had battered the shores all night, Ade walked along the beach to check his boat. Amidst the debris washed up by the waves, something shiny caught his eye. He moved closer and found a strange idol, a small figure carved out of stone, with markings that seemed to glow faintly in the sunlight. Ade felt a chill run down his spine, but curiosity overcame his fear. He took the idol home, despite a warning from Baba Deyo, the village elder, who saw him and said, "Ade, be careful of what the lagoon gives you. It often takes back more." Ade laughed nervously, dismissing the old man's words. From the day Ade brought the idol home, his life began to change. His once empty nets were suddenly full of fish, larger and fresher than anyone in the village had ever seen. Buyers came from other towns, and Ade made more money in a week than he usually made in a year. Word spread quickly, and soon the villagers looked at Ade with admiration. They believed he had a special blessing from the lagoon. His family no longer worried about food or money, and Ade felt proud to finally be successful. The idol sat on a shelf in his small house, and Ade often found himself staring at it. It seemed to hum softly, like a distant song. But strange things began to happen. At first, it was small things. Shadows moved where there was no light. The wind would blow suddenly, carrying whispers that Ade couldn't quite understand. His dreams became vivid, filled with images of dark waters and faces that seemed to call out to him. One day, a young boy who was a friend of Ade's son in the village tried to touch the idol while Ade wasn't home. The boy fell sick immediately, burning with fever and mumbling about drowning. The villagers were frightened, but they didn't connect the incident to the idol, at least, not at first. Then, the lagoon began to change. The once clear water turned murky, and fish started washing ashore, dead and rotting. The whispers grew louder, and villagers began to see figures moving in the mist near the water. Ade's wife, Adoni, begged him to get rid of the idol. "Ade, this thing is not natural. It's bringing evil into our home." But Ade refused. "How can I throw away the very thing that saved us? Look at all we have now." One night, Ade had a terrifying dream. He was standing in the lagoon, surrounded by shadowy figures. They stretched their hands toward him and cried out, "Return it. Set us free." He woke up shaking, but the words stayed with him. Ade finally went to Baba Deyo for advice. The old man listened carefully and told Ade an ancient story. Many years ago, a powerful tribe worshipped an idol from the lagoon. It brought them great wealth but also great pain. The lagoon is alive, Ade, and it always demands balance. If you do not return the idol, the shadows will consume us all. Ade realized he had no choice. But when he told the villagers what needed to be done, they were furious. "How can you destroy the thing that brought us wealth?" one man shouted. "This is madness," cried another. Ade stood his ground. Would you rather be rich and haunted, or poor and free? That night, as the shadows grew darker and the whispers louder, Ade took the idol to the lagoon. Adoni and Bobadeyo accompanied him, while the rest of the village watched from a distance. With trembling hands, Ade walked into the water. The lagoon seemed alive, swirling and pulling at him. He held the idol high and shouted, "Take it back. Leave us in peace." As he threw the idol into the depths, a great wave rose, knocking Ade off his feet. For a moment, it seemed like the water would swallow him whole. But then, the lagoon grew calm. The whispers stopped, and the shadows disappeared. The village returned to its humble life. The fish slowly came back, though not as plentiful as before. The people struggled, but they were no longer afraid. Many villagers were angry with Ade for taking away their prosperity, but Adoni stood by him. "You did what was right," she said. Ade often sat by the lagoon, staring at the water and thinking about all that had happened. He had lost his fortune, but he felt lighter, as if a great weight had been lifted from his soul. The lagoon, once again clear and peaceful, seemed to glisten with approval. Ade's journey through wealth, greed, and redemption is a reminder of the delicate balance between ambition and humility. The lesson is clear here: nothing comes without a price. Sometimes, it is better to live simply and free than to cling to riches that imprison the soul. We must respect the forces of nature, honor the wisdom of our ancestors, and remember that true wealth lies not in gold or fish, but in the peace of a life unburdened by greed.